not necessarily tribal or regional.
If you're just joining us, it's Daybreak on Trust Television, and the train kicked off by 7, and we have arrived at that station where we get perspective on the major servings on the national dailies of today. We are, of course, joined in the studio by a friend of the house and, well, a friend outside the house also, if you like, the editor of 21st Century Chronicle newspaper, Malam Nuruddin Abdallah. It's a pleasure to have you join us this morning.
It's a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Everybody that had worked tirelessly towards the primaries are taking vacation abroad. I don't know why you're still in Nigeria. I thought you would have been resting, but all the same, it's good to have you in the studio, provide perspectives to a newspaper review this morning. We are at that junction again where the offering is not very palatable. We are losing men who are supposed to be our last line of defense in a situation that is really not a battle, merely providing cover for national assets and mining activities that are supposed to help us shore up revenue in Nigeria. And there within, we understand that about 22 soldiers, 7 or 10 corps members are reported by the various platforms, and many civilians in Niger State have been killed by terrorists, and 4 Chinese nationals weeks away. Well, security sources are saying the troops were ambushed. Whatever those explanations were, they understood that that place is a danger zone. We have had several killings, as chronicled by the Daily Trust, around Shiroro. What do you make of what we already know as far as this attack is concerned?
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that men and officers have been wasted almost on daily basis, and it's unfortunate equally the explanation by those who should know. It's ambush now. It's not the first time our troops have been ambushed. Even generals were killed in an ambush. A general in Borno, I think, from Adamawa State was recently ambushed. Understand? A brigade, some are saying a colonel in Taraba, Takum, not long ago, was ambushed. Nobody's even talking about him. Don't even talk about middle rank officers, talking about majors, lieutenant colonels, and what have you. Why are these people ambushing our troops? Our military is well trained. That is it. You rise through training courses and what have you. In fact, it's part of the military tradition. There are certain courses, if you don't pass, you don't even go to the next rank. But why is this new concept of ambush by the terrorists? Is it that they are more sophisticated in terms of strategy than our military? You mentioned that Shiroro, there are 4 local government areas in Niger State. Talking about Shiroro, Rafi, Mashegu, and one other one.
Lapai.
It's the hue of banditry in Niger State. We all know. So even mining activity, and this is a mining site. You remember the attack Zungiru hydro plant. They abducted some even expatriates there. So does it mean that we don't take action? We don't put safety valves? So I don't understand. And I think this is happening because, yes, 22 soldiers, talking about 7 policemen, were killed. So it means that no investigation, no nothing, nobody will be held responsible. Is it an act of sabotage? Is it negligence? What is really happening? You can't be wasting men every day and you just say ambush. there won't be even any statement from the defense headquarters.
You know, Shiroro, and why Shiroro? I mean, from the analysis, we know how close Shiroro is even to the federal capital territories. It's just about 200 kilometers, basically 2 hours of drive. It is sitting right there, you know, less than 100 kilometers from the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway, where major terrorist activities have taken place. The Kaduna State Governor and even the Niger State Governor had cause in the past to say 1 or 2 places there, these guys have hosted their flag and they have made it the headquarters of their operation. In other words, they are no longer hiding. This is our enclave. Why is it difficult for us to take the war to these people? Why are we always waiting for these people to hit us? Like you said, is it an absence of strategy? And how is it possible that this guy could round up 22 or basically about 32 officers, whether of the police, of the Nigerian army, and carry out this kind of mayhem without us seeing a single casualty on the part of the terrorist?
I think strategy, you know, like I said, even our military, you know, it seems that people are not being held to account for their actions or inactions. One, you remember last year, some states, particularly in the northwest, Kaduna, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Katsina, you know, they even suspended telecom services, you know, and there was massive operation. But what we said at that time was the operation should be simultaneous. You remember they were doing operation in Zamfara, and it was at that time that bandit activities spiked in Sokoto. And even some eastern part of Niger, of Kebbi, Wasagu, that axis. And they quickly moved down to Niger. So I don't know the strategy. Is it, if for instance it will be the one operation that the military will do, let it be. But unfortunately, you know, yeah, we chased them away from parts of Zamfara. They moved to Sokoto, they moved down to Katsina, and they moved down to Niger. And look at the 160-kilometer stretch between Abuja and Kaduna. It's almost immoderable because of security concerns. So why? The question is why? What? It simply means that some commanders are just sitting up there without being held to account. Look at the number of men. Okay, they are soldiers and what have you. It's a great loss to the country.
It is.
Money has been spent to train them up to this level. But to just waste them in one soup like this, you know, actually is something that the country should not tolerate. Those concerned, you know, should devise their strategy.
All right. Well, another story making the rounds on the dailies is concerning the Abuja-Kaduna train attack victims. Some were released and some are still being held in captivity. And we were getting reports that the families of the train attack victims want to take a further step in pressing their demands of getting their loved ones released by protesting and taking over government facilities in Abuja and Kaduna. Do you think that is the way to go, or will it have the desired effect?
It may have a desired effect, like you mentioned, even though maybe if it is not the best way to go about it.
Okay.
But what can they do? We're getting to 100 days. They were abducted. The bomb attack took place on 28th March. Today's what? 1st July. More than 90 days. And apparently nobody is even talking to the families of these victims. And you know what that means? If they are dead, you know they are dead. They are mostly breadwinners. Nobody is talking about them. Yeah, there was a breakthrough recently. We were happy that maybe the problem will come to an end, particularly the hostages will be released. When 11 of them were released, when a deal was brokered by a publisher in Kaduna. But I don't know, two things, These people, they already have an age over us, over the political establishment, over the military establishment as well. Our intelligence gathering mechanism has totally collapsed. We couldn't even predict that this will happen. We didn't put measures on ground to avoid that ugly incident. Now the whole thing now is, the whole country now is being, like I have been saying, we have been ridiculed. 90 days, going into 100 days. These people are out there. Okay, what is the security people doing? Is it still a back-end strategy? No. Two things. You give them what they want, let them release those people, or you took the other measure. Organize a rescue. Maybe apparently our security and personnel they don't have that capacity. You see what happens in other climes. Swap operation. You have this swap expert in hostage issues and what have you. But they are there. Some of them have even gone shit once. Some are sick, some are aged, what have you. And their families are over there. So you can't just describe any action that the families will pick. It's an act of desperation. They are breadwinners, 51 of them, IQ.
We move on to other issues on the daily. One interesting one, maybe a complete diversion from everything we have been saying and the sad stories, unfortunately. And let me put it on record that the Trust TV family, pray with the family of the dead, and we hope that God would comfort this family and give this strength, this country, rather the fortitude to go past this whole episode. Moving on to another story, and it will be about the funny one coming in on the front page of the Daily Trust also. A man tricks Jigawa villages to steal roofs and doors from 14 mosques. Apparently, he shows up and says, I want to renovate the mosques, bring out the old roof and the old doors. And the communities gladly went up, removed the roofs to the mosques and the doors, and he moves on to the next community. How funny, but how serious this is. What do you make of this kind of story?
I don't know. That is the peak of audacity. Stealing from God. Yes, you understand? Not even... When I saw the video footages on social media, I thought that maybe it was just this prank or somebody doing a skit, but actually it is real. Not to one community, not two communities.
14 of them.
14 communities. Look at the audacity. So, they say, nothing is impossible, actually, in Nigeria. Yes, that's what it simply means. Nothing is impossible in Nigeria.
But how does one man shows up in your village? You don't know him from Adam.
It depends on the tactics he uses. That's the thing. What does he tell them? How does he tell them those things? And most likely...
it's what we do here, I don't know the Christian part, but, there are proliferation of worshiping places, particularly for the Muslims. And when you're passing, particularly in villages and whatever, you see a village, let's say, less than 5,000 people, with about 3 or 4 mosques. Every sect has its
different places.
So that is why, and that's why it's recording dismal, particularly if you're passing. There you'll see a signpost saying that Fi Sabilillah, mosques, what have you. So it's very easy to fall prey to all these audacious fraudsters. You understand? You'll see an account number, and there is a mocks committee who sometimes equally eat from that, the mocks committee in Nigeria is one of the most
One of the most controversial committees you can find.
you understand?
Yeah.
So it's very easy. Miss them, and from the story, he even go away with the doors, and so people, in Hausa, I don't know, maybe you say some banza, are so much obsessed with getting freebies. So that is because if actually you come in, okay, bring your stuff. Like in one of the instances, he even brought a truck of sand to recite. Yes. He's very strategic.
He is very strategic indeed.
He brought he didn't pay. He asked he will look flamboyant, and people get carried away with all this because it's a feasibility. So that is it. But I hope with this now, other communities elsewhere, should whoever comes, it is not at the Bombay or the Kada you come with, that you'll just start
removing the roofs,
and the doors, and he goes
away with it.
Very unfortunate, you understand?
Yeah, very, very, very unfortunate. It's surprising the lengths people go to make a quick buck these days.
Before we used to laugh at, if you go to a local mosque, you'll see this wall clock, not more than 2,000. But you see a bagla of 10,000 or more.
Protecting the, yes.
In Kano, I remember I even see a bagla for a bulb, light bulb. When I say, if you pick it there 1 minute, they'll steal it.
They'll steal it.
So you have to do bagla for a bulb. You see how irreligious, people are.
What a paradox.
Exactly, yeah.
What a paradox. We move on, and the president is saying that we are going to supply Europe their gas needs in the face of the Russia-Ukrainian crisis. And I mean, I just came out from the gas plant yesterday before getting to work on that story. We had bought cooking gas, the propane or butane now, for 11,000 naira. And I'm saying to myself, if we have this much gas, I thought we should be feeling the impact at home before we take them out. I mean, where is this coming from?
I don't want to laugh, because I don't know the parameters that the president used or what is in the offing, that maybe up his sleeve. And Nigeria in particular, instead of leveraging, let's say the Russia-Ukraine conflict is horrible and bad, we're not praying for it, but, things happen, and some countries, like we did during the Gulf War, 1990 Gulf War, the oil windfall. Abuja was built with it, you understand? Because Iraq, as an oil exporter, was no longer exporting. And the same thing with Kuwait. So we key in. At that time, our production capacity was exactly spiked. I want to feel. So we get cool cash, unplanned cash. But in our own case, so I don't know where the president is coming from, because the integers on ground doesn't support what the president is saying. You even mention of the LPG that you bought 11,000. That's not even aside. What is our production capacity now? Yes. What is our production capacity? If you are coming to this place, you'll see the mayhem. Some filling station. They block the entire roads. Has our production capacity, we budget for 1.8 million barrels per day. What is the capacity now? Less than 1.4. We can't even meet the upper quota. You understand? Instead of, and you're talking about gas. Look at the prices of bread. Yes.
Yes.
We get our sorghum supply from Ukraine. Almost most of the major exporters of this, including India, are now implementing ban exports. Okay, maybe we see there will be relaxed on that with the withdrawal of the Russian troops from the Snake Island that gets into the Black Sea. But look at the situation now. Almost across Europe, inflation is hitting the roofs. Germany now, they have already opened their food banks.
Reserve.
Nigeria, we don't even have any reserves. So that's why the gas is on. So I don't know. The president's speechwriters, they write anything sometimes just because the white people, do you know these figures? How are you going to achieve that? You can't even maintain. You can't even
Supply
locally. Not talk of okay. How are you even going to supply it? Through the Nigeria, Algerian gas pipeline that is still in the pipeline?
Maybe that's
or the Moroccan one that is still, we are still looking for the money.
Maybe
that's what they're
the AKK.
AKK, where is the AKK now?
Well, it's still
You
under-
reported that the AKK will be done by end of last year, was it? Nobody is even talking about it now.
Everybody has forgotten about it.
Amazing.
No, nobody is even talking about it now. It is no longer a campaign for the ruling party. So it's a problem. And look at it now. In Houston recently, when you have this your annual
Gas conference.
what was our minister saying? The picture he painted was a very gloomy one. It's a bleak picture. What he's saying there is different from what the president is saying in Portugal. Understand? And unprecedented theft of crude at the industrial level now. Nigeria has never experienced that, even during at the peak of militancy. But now, because it simply means that some big guys are involved. They are no longer the Tom Polo and whatever you have that are using crude methods. No, now at that industrial level. And we can't do anything about it.
Interesting. Maybe we have mega polos now, not Tom Polos in the trenches. This is the much that time would permit us to take. You could get the details of most of the stories if you pick up your copy of the national dailies, especially the rebranded Daily Trust copy, where you will be served with in-depth of most of these happenings in our polity.